In retrospect, what a Blue Valley parent called Catherine Singleton did in the fall of 2022 to MB, a classmate of our younger son, was a harbinger of what was going to happen to us on February 10, 2023. Like our son, MB is a half Asian boy, and he was targeted by some teachers and a group of classmates who were favored by these teachers. And because he was targeted by those classmates, he was also targeted by the parents of those classmates. You know how it works. After school, kids go back home and badmouth the kid at school to their parents who don't know what's going on at school, who don't know the full story, but they buy into whatever their children tell them about what's going on at school. And then they get fired up and get together with other parents whose children also dislike the same kid, and then the parents together start targeting that kid. I actually saw some parents doing the same thing to teachers and teacher aides. If their children badmouth a teacher or a teacher's aide, the parents get together and start targeting that staff member. For example, at Wolf Springs in the fall of 2022, one teacher was transferred to another school because of that, only a few weeks after the school year started. And the one teacher's aide was fired by Megan Graber right before Thanksgiving in the same way. Parents sometimes explicitly campaign against particular teachers on social media. They post derogatory remarks about a teacher, saying things like she doesn't teach anything, she's no good, and try to get other parents' support to file a joint complaint against the teacher. Anyways, back to our topic. One day, Kristin Kellerman, the teacher who had been targeting both my younger son and NB, reported that NB brought nuts from home, took them out of his backpack, crushed them, and spread them all over Catherine Singleton's son, who has nut allergy. Catherine Singleton's head and shoulders were covered in Catherine Singleton's son's head and shoulders were covered in nut powder, and there was nut powder everywhere, all over the place. So they had to sweep the floor. So this incident didn't happen in Kristin Kellerman's class, but in another teacher's class. The teacher who was in charge of the class at the time thought that the incident wasn't a big deal, and Catherine Singleton's son had no allergic reaction. So the teacher just sent him to the restroom and did not report the incident. Later, my wife actually talked to the teacher's aide who was in the classroom at the time, and he said that the incident was nothing like that. There was no nut powder. No one had to sweep nut powder off the floor or anything like that. My younger son was actually sitting at the same table with Catherine Singleton's son when the incident happened. And he told us that MB threw a single nut at Singleton's son and missed. Then he picked a nut from the floor and put it in the victim's hand, put it in Singleton's son's hand. But no one ever asked him what he witnessed. No one ever questioned him about the incident. Later, we heard that the nut was actually an acorn from MB's backyard, and the acorn isn't known as a common allergen. We also heard that MB actually had a mild nut allergy himself. My younger son didn't know the difference between a nut and an acorn at the time because he grew up in Hawaii, and at the time of the incident, we had just moved from Hawaii. So he didn't know the difference between an acorn and a nut. Kristin Kellerman obviously exaggerated this nut incident, this nut assault, to vilify and criminalize MB. She took Catherine Singleton's son to the restroom and helped him to wash off the so-called nut remnants after the fact. Then she informed Catherine Singleton and other teachers of the incident in an overly dramatic way. As you would expect, Catherine Singleton was furious and filed a police report. against MB, claiming that MB assaulted her son and used nuts as a weapon. Basically, Catherine Singleton, together with Kristin Kellerman, took a misbehavior or a silly prank by an 8-year-old and they turned it into a criminal case of attempted murder. On the other side, MB's parents were broken and later decided to take their children out of Blue Valley and they started to homeschool them after that school year ended. Another half Asian boy, classmate, who used to be friends with our younger son and MB, immigrated to New Zealand with his family the following year. So basically, within 2 school years, they got rid of all the mixed kids in the class, all the riffraff that sullied the class.